Welcome back to Basement Dweller Tabletop. This morning on Basement Dweller, we're going to be looking at the 11th edition Command Phase. So this is going to be part of our long form series. We're going to cover each phase independently, try and do not a super deep dive, but give you the basics, give you enough that you can start your games and easily refer back to them if you need to look at the videos again. All right, so with Command Phase, it's the Orc's turn. Orcs? What's an Orc? All right, the Orc's turn. This unit last turn lost a number of models. They are currently in melee with a squad of Imperial Guardsmen. So the very first thing we do our pre-command, or the start of the command phase actions. So at the start of the command phase, the Orc army has an option to call the Wah. So the Wah is a bonus, a one-turn bonus, lasts from my command phase to my next command phase, and it's going to give me a +1 strength, +1 attacks on all my melee weapons. It's going to give a 5-up invulnerable save to all the units in the army that don't have one, all Orcs units, so Gretchen don't count. They never count. Then your, where was I? Yeah. Advance and charge. So your units can make special movement, extra movement during their movement phase, but then they can still charge, which is an abnormal, it's an overriding rule to one of the basic core rules. We'll cover that more in the movement phase and the charge phase later videos. But first, so we've got our start of command phase, and then everybody gets a command point. So both the Imperial Guard player and the Orc player will get +1 command point that they can use later in the battle. And now, before anything else, we're going to be using we have to roll for battle shock tests. So battle shock is when your army is taking casualties or scared of something, and it's to reflect whether or not your units can stay fully effective in the battle. Once you're battle shocked, it has a lot of effects on other phases of the game, like you can't be affected by stratagems, your objective control value, which helps you control different objectives, goes to 0. So you cannot control objectives if you're battle shocked. And then there's some other negatives, like the Imperial Guard. They can't use orders, which is their cool army special rule that gives bonuses to all their units. They can't use it at all if their unit is battle shocked. So last turn, this unit took more than 50% casualties. So the battle shock test is 50% or more. And there's 19 boys, a nob, however you want to say it, a weird boy, and a pain boy in this squad. So they're 22. So they've taken 11 or more casualties. I think they actually took 14 last turn. Pretty brutal. The guard were shooting at them and then charged them in hand to hand, hoping to finish them off. But as you can see, that didn't work. The Orcs are pretty tough. They're hard to kill, especially in the Green Tide faction. All right, so I'm going to roll my Battle Shock. They have a 7+ on their data sheet. That means I had to get a 7 or higher. Oh no! So they have a 4. So they have failed their battle shock. These guys can no longer control objectives. They can no longer get stratagems, which is bad because I was going to use a stratagem on these guys. Spend one of my 2 command points on a stratagem called "Come on, lads!" Again from the Green Tide. It would have allowed me to add more figures back to this squad. It's one of the healing functions. They would get D3 +2, so they get a minimum of 3, but they could get up to 5 orcs back, which would be a third of what they lost last turn to Imperial Guard shooting. And that would happen before, so that stratagem happens in the command phase. So that would be more guys for them to use to fight in hand-to-hand combat here. So you also draw your secondary cards. So we've got our primary missions. You draw your secondary cards. So I'm going to draw up a secondary card. So I've picked Assassination. Ooh, means I need to kill Imperial Guard characters. There's a few of them on the board. I think they've got Yarick and Acadian Castellan and a couple of command squads. Actually, there's a command squad in here. So if I can kill these guys, I can get some points for Assassinate. We'll do that in the hand-to-hand phase. Alrighty. See if there's anything else I need to do for the Orcs in their command phase. There's no other stratagems that I want to throw down in the command phase. They all work in the other phases for Green Tide. And then I took Mordaka as my other, and they don't have any command phase ones. All right, so let's talk about Imperial Guard command phase. Theirs is a little bit different because they have something called orders. So this is totally different than the others. Orcs have got that one shot once per game, while the Imperial Guard have an every turn they can issue orders during their command phase. So they're officers. So we got a command tank, we got a command squad, another command tank. There's a Cadian Castellan hiding in here to support the artillery. We got Yarick, and that's their commanders. Every one of those guys can issue a number of orders. So this army took Grizzled Company, which was a really popular one at the end of 10th. It's got some cool abilities, but the biggest one is that they can reroll ones to hit if they're under the effect of an order. So during their command phase, of course, they would get their command point. They'd have to roll their battle shocks. So this squad over here took some casualties last turn from the orcs, but it wasn't enough. They only took 8. And there's 25 guys in this squad. It's a big squad. So they did not take enough to need to do a battle shock test. So they're okay. There's no test for them. And normally you would do all of your elements of your turn at once. I'm just bouncing over here to the guard to kind of show you the differences between command phases for different armies. So again, they would draw up another card. They've got theirs. They'd be checking for any items, do any of these. So some of these, say at the end of second battle round. Yeah, here we go. Here's one. Second battle round onwards. When at the end of your command phase or the end of your turn in the 5th battle round. So there are other things that take effect at the end of the command phase. So you've got a beginning of command phase that happens before you can do anything else. Then you got your battle shocks. Then you've got your command phase abilities, such as not the WOG. The WOG specifically says beginning of command phase, but things like your commands, your orders for your Imperial Guard, and then you do the end of command phase. And then somewhere in there you squeeze your cards in, because that happens. That may happen at the beginning of every turn. That may not be command phase, but that's okay. That's not a huge deal, because most of these guys prioritize when drawn. So this is a secondary mission. It says when you draw it, you look at that. Do I have anything for bring it down? Oh, look, he's got a battle wagon hiding over there in the woods. Over there. It's camouflaged. It looks like it's got a tree sticking out of it, but that's just in front of it. I had to pull the turrets off. They kept falling off while we were moving things around the board. So that is the command phase. Pretty straightforward. There's a couple of little shenanigan-y things you can do. Some of your uppy downy special movement happens during the command phase, like you pull things off the board. Certain armies have that. It's very, very dependent upon the army that you are fielding. Depends on who you got. And the orcs don't have a lot in the command phase. All they got's that wall, which is pretty cool. So this guy can run up and charge in the same turn. That's cool. Thraka, he's got a mob of boys hanging out with him, and a pain boy. I gave this pain boy, I had some fun with army construction here. This pain boy has got a upgrade that allows him to re-roll charge rolls for his squad. So I thought that would be an awesome add-on for Gaz, because he's a big, stompy super boss. He's got a couple of weedy boys with him, but with that pain boy attached to them, he can do his advance move up, and then roll a charge. And if you don't like the number that you rolled, you can try again. So that can be really effective later game. And a bunch of these guys hiding in the woods, facing off with Sentinels and Commissar Yarrick. Now, thematically, I should have had Commissar Yarrick in the middle there, but I wanted to advance along the flanks with this guard army. They got stymied over here by the orcs. The orcs did a teleport move. We'll talk more in depth about that type of stuff in the movement section. Hopefully you can't hear the garbage truck rolling through in the background. You can tell it's Monday morning. All right. But again, that's command phase. Command phase, command phase. I'm trying to think if any other armies have any super duper cool stuff in the command phase. It's a lot of decisions that you make in the command phase. Choices of when to use your stratagems. What special abilities you're going to fire off. The Votan have a bunch of like grudge token things that can happen. Oh no, they don't have the grudge tokens anymore. It's the not salvage. What is it? They've got some kind of treasure resource tokens, resource points. That's what it is. They get resource points. Yeah. So yeah, that is it. Command phase done and dusted. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, if I said something wrong, feel free to correct me. That's what the internet is for. I mean, there's nothing like a good, well, actually in the morning. All right, you guys have a great day.